Yeah, so thank you. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about educating executives on artificial intelligence and why you need to do that and potentially a roadmap to get there. Just a little bit about Hollard first. I think Tony did a good job in introducing myself, but Hollard, headquartered in South Africa, operate in 7 countries in Africa. You'll see on your left-hand side some of the products and markets that we operate in. I'm not going to say too much more about that. So, to talk about why it's important to educate executives on AI, I want to take you back to 2020 when ChatGPT became a thing. I think we can all remember that. And if you're in IT, you would have remembered some sort of exec saying to you, listen, if I can give ChatGPT a set of ingredients and it gives me a recipe out of it, how cool is that? Why aren't we using ChatGPT? Right. And then a few months later, that very same exec would come to you and say, wait a minute, don't use ChatGPT because I hear that there's some security concerns around this thing. And what I figured out through that process is the more that they understand, the better questions they ask, right? So you want them to understand this piece of technology so that they ask you the right questions and point you in the right direction. Why else is it important to educate executives on AI? Now, before I bring this up, I want to make clear that the context behind this is an IT guy talking about why it's important to educate the board and executives. I understand there's a lot of executives here. So for the IT people, you can resonate. For the executives, you know what we're thinking now, right? So this says it very nicely, right? So you can see that if you think about this, there's a bar of soap that you can think of as your technology platform that you have today, and the pump at the top being the AI you want to put on top of it, right? Now, when you have a group of people that don't really understand this technology, you're going to do something that makes sense because there's some sort of logic there, right? Um, but when you eventually spend tons of time and money implementing this thing, you're going to end up with something that doesn't work and adds no value. And none of us want to end up in that space. So that really is the why you want to get this right. Cool. So, what do executives need to understand, right? And I'm really talking about board level, group EXCO type people. They need to understand the basics around AI, why, what, and most importantly, what it can't do, right? It's no magic wand. So, when they understand this, again, they're going to ask you the right questions. I think the whole ethical and IT security related to AI is something that every exec needs to understand because then you can make the right decision around the last component, which is the actual application of the technology in your organization. All right. So, what is the expectation? So, what is the technology team expecting from you? One is create those guardrails, kind of set the rules of the game. Tell us where to play, where not to play. Where do you think you can accept risk, which is part of the risk management component? And then the last bit is help us with use case identification. So tell us which part of the business is ripe for something like this. Obviously, it's a two-way conversation, but the more that the exec understands, the more they can give you this information. Very simply put, there's a high level roadmap here. You can build a whole project plan behind each one of these. But what I want you to do is really talk about this very high level. So the first is start with awareness. Make sure that the exec understands the basics around artificial intelligence and the different types of artificial intelligence and when you use what type of artificial intelligence. Second, once you got that done, you need to do a little bit of a deep dive. And that's really where you could talk about, ethical use cases, and how you map technology to the business problem. And then the last bit is, I think, is really important. Not last, sorry, the third part is you have to have a collaborative session to talk about where do you implement the technology, and you do not want to end up with that so dispenser picture that I showed a bit earlier. And then the last bit, I think we all know that this technology is continuously changing, continuously evolving, and there's new pieces that are available all the time. So continuous training and awareness is important. So you keep going through the cycle a few times, and hopefully you end up in a space where you've chosen the right use cases. All right, so this is my last slide. I was given no second last slide. I was given 10 minutes. So what are the benefits behind this? I think I spoke to this a little bit already, but I just wanted to summarize it. So you want to get to a point where you're making decisions around AI that is strategically aligned to your business. You don't want to be doing things that really you're not interested in because it's very easy to go down that road. because there's so much of technology available. You want to make sure that you manage your risk through that process. And when I say that, I mean you do not want to end up implementing a solution that's going to cause damage to your business, both from a reputational or from a data perspective. And then the last bit is if you do this right, I mean, you will eventually get a competitive edge in the market. This is the last slide. And it really summarizes what I've said now is informed AI literate executives make a difference between reactive decisions and strategic growth. And really the point there is be strategic about this. Don't always be tactical. I think there's a time for that. But with AI specifically, because of the investment, the time, the knowledge, the amount of technology out there, try to be as strategic as possible. And then you end up playing in the right spaces. Thank you.